It's time to get into the thick of the action and see what's what in this battle against Han as To finally joins the fray and things start to heat up in what may be a surprisingly short battle, or instead a tougher proposition than the fans might initially think. Decisive plays have already been made and both sides are looking good so far. Everyone except Shin and the Haishin unit, I guess. And what stands out so far is that no complex tactics have been made, other than arguably Rock One's play. It was pretty impressive. But it is a rather straightforward battle strategically. But the decision making regardless is smart. The risks are calculated and sensible. Both sides are trying to take control and show their superiority from the start. And both sides predicted the other side would do so and prepared countermeasures in place. So unless some clown shit happens like the Haishin unit easily overcomes this because Kyou Kai just beelines to Haku-Koku or Shin kills Mammoth Man Yoku, I'm really liking how this battle started. The sacrifices Han took in committing their trump card before assessing the enemy's strength is an interesting one, and I'm excited to see that To immediately recognized how big of a drawback it low-key is and prepared to take full advantage. To having trouble but surpassing Rakuwan's expectations and delivering a crippling blow, and Shin surviving extremely tough odds. On some Eiko shit, both sound like exciting propositions, and I can't wait to see how the next few chapters unfold, but let's dig a bit deeper into the intricacies of this chapter. From the Haishin unit side, there are good and bad aspects to how it unfolded. Seeing bootleg Mobu General Haku-Koku leave himself far out as bait, knowing the elites would give the Haishin unit more trouble than they bargained for, and knowing Ten would attempt to flank is impressive stuff. It's a bit of a de-hype to see him not being the strongest in Han given how much he looks like Mobu, or I guess Mobu Solo hybrid, but he makes up for it with his cool and calm demeanor and his surprisingly competent army and strategical ability. He saw Ten's play coming from a mile away, and while the play should be attributed to Hakuwan more than anything, it seems like Haku-Koku was on a similar page, so he gets credit too. And the fact that, like Rakuwan, he's not underestimating Shin enough to just assume Yoku would be enough, and instead gambled on his strength, the strength of his elites, and their superb timing with the Yoku flank being too much, it's a relief. Sure, targeting Shin from the viewer's perspective is always an exercise in futility, but they don't know how strong Shin is, and just not targeting Shin and hoping he doesn't have a massive impact isn't exactly some foolproof strategy either. In general, and in this situation, it would probably just lead to Shin slaying Hakuo, but the new Shin would think he's hot shit and try to dominate the battle early, especially since they need to decimate Han. And they took a gamble, yes, but one that immediately puts Shin in a very dangerous situation. Not a bad gamble to take at all, it's a respectable play. If the trap ends up being underwhelming and Rakuwan took the gamble for nothing, it would seem like, that would be ass and it would feel like a cop-out from a writing perspective, but it does seem like a legitimate threat. Shin got stopped dead in his tracks from Hakuo's elites alone. You know, the thing that would never happen to Mobu, Shin's superior. And if Hakuo and Yoku 2v1 Shin on some Gyoun and Banaji versus Eiko shit, I would like that a lot, since it'd be a situation where Shin can't shine through it just by Shin smashing his way to victory. They would feel like there would be actual stakes, the play wouldn't feel meaningless, and we would get to see how Shin handles similar situations that other strong commanders have handled and get a cool comparison that would clear some things up power scaling wise. Basically, we'd realize Eiko's top 10 in the verse. From the perspective of Shin, it is disappointing how he didn't see the flank coming with his instincts, though not the end of the world since instincts aren't supposed to be as consistent as strategy for dealing with every possible situation. But after seeing his Duke level play against Riboku, it is kind of disappointing to see it not be a factor so far, but I don't mind it too much seeing as how the battle just started. This is more so to the credit of the Han generals than the discredit of Shin and Ten, and Shin is justified in believing he can overcome most situations, and he doesn't have to be extra cautious of any possible trap, especially since it was really unexpected for Han to gamble like this early into the battle and commit their secret trump card all the way from the other side of the battle to do so. It's excusable, but it's still kind of disappointing. I still like how this side of the battle is shaping up overall, with Han being impressive in all regards, the predicament Shin's in being a very interesting one, and Shin still having plenty of time to shine. Kyou Kai's role raises some questions as she is capable of dealing with Hakuo and turning things around, potentially stopping him before Hakuo can try to 2v1 Shin with Yoku if that's even their plan. But it seems like it shouldn't be that easy. Kyou Kai's role was conveniently not used to make things that easy when the story called for it, like versus Gaimou and versus Rinko. And while she has been disappointingly irrelevant at times and something Haru needs to improve on is making her more of a factor. We have also gotten clear evidence of her not being this crazy powerhouse that has comparable impact to Shin, and that she just buzzsaws everything in her path, and that it'd be an asshole if she doesn't immediately get to Hakuo and kill him. Her unit was being overwhelmed by Gakue's army when Gakuo was facing Shin, Kyou Kai, and Ohan alone. This is a good opportunity for Hakuo to stall Kyou Kai out with his tactics and have Kyou Kai be impactful enough late to where she has to settle for saving Shin instead of outright winning the battle or something. Regardless of what exactly happens, though, this should be a dangerous situation for Shin, that's for sure. And not one where Han just doesn't realize they have a Kyou Kai and the situation actually isn't that bad for the Haishin unit. Toe made it seem like Shin is in an incredibly dangerous predicament, but will overcome it because he's just that nigga. Not that Shin's army is just so strong overall and that this whole thing was futile to begin with to even attempt. So while there's potential for this to be underwhelming, I'm cautiously optimistic. I get the feeling that people are sleeping on the Han boys, and have been doing so for the longest, and we should get surprising moments of Han competence in this war. Not just this being their only good play and it fails easily and To decimates Rakuon and Hakuo dies to Kyou Kai and Shin kills Yoku after a good duel or whatever. There needs to be more twists and turns, and I'm actually kind of rooting for Han to show out and have a good performance. I ain't gonna hold you. But in regards to Shin versus Yoku, specifically though, Gaimou fans, your time is up. It's over for y'all. Y'all try to hold out as long as y'all could. Y'all were Heki outside trying your damnedest to hold out the east wall. But also like Heki, y'all were doomed to fail from the start. We had parallels of Bonanji having Rempa level strength hype like Gaimou, and the Gaimou wankers denied it. We saw Bonanji pulling off a similar feat that Gaimou did to Sosui against the much stronger Kyuko from Ohan's army, and y'all denied it. We saw Bonanji and Gyon getting top of the verse speed feats against Ohan, and y'all denied it. We saw Gyon getting direct parallels to Gaimou, and then pull off a near identical performance to Bonanji in the Eiko 2v1 to the point where they seemed like they were the same fighter just rocking a different video game skin, and y'all denied it. And we saw Shin kill Hoken then struggle against monsters like Budaman and Jokaryu, and y'all denied it. The Shin from like 10 years ago with his little man glaive that broke against fodders a couple years later is like the go to the verse to these guys in their desperate attempt to wank Gaimou to the heavens and back. But now y'all have well and truly been finished. It's never been so over for y'all. We got NPC 10 showing he's comparable to Gaimou. Look how irrelevant Gaimou's strength is. This dude is not special at all. Gaimou's going to come back better than ever. A new man with newfound strength. The best he's ever been. Finally, he's reached his full potential. Gaimou 2.0 time. And all that's going to amount to is him being slightly stronger than these guys. That's the extent of Gaimou's specialness. By the end of the story, there will have been like 40 Gaimou level characters we've seen throughout the series. This guy is such a nobody. Eiko would beat Gaimou in a duel any day of the week. His brute strength is extremely normal for the typical strong guy that shows up now. His speed is nothing special, having clearly worse speed feats than Bonanji and Gyon, failing to speed Blizzard Shin, who got casually outsped by a significantly weaker Ohan than the Ohan who Bonanji and Gyon had insane speed feats against. His weight, while impressive, isn't shit at the same time, as his weight wasn't enough for Shin to put him in a different category than Gyon. It wasn't enough for him to put him in a different category than Yoku. Gyon has weight too, and when Shin got bitch smacked by Gyon, he didn't give any of these technicalities the Gaimou fans conjure up in their heads. Gaimou's weight is considered in Shin's overall assessment, and Shin's assessment is that Gaimou ain't special at all. Who knew? If only there was someone saying this for years and years and years. But it's nice to see Hara keeping things consistent like he always does. I know Gaimou fans want to claim Shin just gets nerfed every time he doesn't do as good as they arbitrarily think he should do. They want to arbitrarily say it's only the real Shin when he's fighting Gaimou and Hoken. Every other time is just plot because trust me, bro. And of course, such opinions shouldn't be taken seriously, but it's nice to see Han having a trump card of the caliber that they should have. At this point of the story, Gaimou level fighters should be a dime a dozen. And if we didn't at least get this, it'd be disappointing as hell. It's just funny how we got it from the form of NPC man, but hey, whatever works, I guess. It's cool seeing different variants of similar archetypes, and I like the idea of us seeing a Rambi Haku on steroids, so hey, I approve. On To's side of the battlefield, it's exciting because of To's confidence, but also kind of a letdown in a way, given how people before this would assume To would easily be able to take on the full might of the Rakuon army, no problem. And now Rakuon's army is nerfed when people would have thought To taking on a full strength Rakuon army isn't enough hype for him. So it kind of leaves us in a weird situation where I'm hoping Rakuan is legit. He should be for the sake of the plot. There should be some twists and turns in this side of the battlefield too. I'm curious to see how he goes about attempting to burn To's hands and to what extent we are underestimating him if we are. But the overall picture of the battlefield definitely has some red flags. Nerfed Rakuan could get disappointingly handled, potentially by just To charging, not even him having to contest Rakuan strategically, on top of using his might, and Shin might get bailed out of his predicaments by Kyou Kai and Han just seeming kind of sad by the end of it. But I do have faith that Han have more up their sleeves than people realize. Like I said, I like the plays that they made, the gambles they were willing to take. They're looking good so far. And To looks good for maybe not necessarily predicting Rakuan's play, but having a feeling Rakuan will leave an opening and being immediately ready to capitalize. So, good chapter overall. Not too much to complain about in terms of the actual chapter. Let's see how the next few play out.